Yo, so sliding in for our final stage of effects processing. Generally, once we've EQ'd and compressed and saturated stuff, and maybe even put a little hyping EQ in there somewhere to kind of boost things and get everything to sound sweet, kind of puzzle piecing everything together, it makes also sense to look at the stereo image of a song and even individual sounds. A really cool thing you can do is you can just go to the master channel if you're curious about how wide your mix is. This is if you're just working right inside of Ableton. You can grab an EQ 8 and you can switch it, turn all these nodes off so it's not doing anything, and then switch its mode to mid-side mode. By doing that, you have two separate EQs, one for the side bands and one for the mono bands. And if you switch this over to sides, you'll be able to hit play on the song. And you can see all your stereo frequencies. So these are all things that are just unique on the left and right. So I can see I got a lot of stereo image in here. Let's go ahead and apply that same technique to some of our individual buses. Like here's our pad, our harmony track, versus our lead. This is where it's really nice to consider which sounds are the lead instruments versus which sounds are the supporting voices. When I listen to this, I feel like the bass and the drums, I mean, this is kind of an IDM style song, they're the lead instruments, so I want to keep those mostly more up the middle. Whereas like the pads and stuff, again, if we go to our bridge section here, which is right here, we can hear these guys coming in over here. Those are the supporting tracks. So let's go ahead and head over to that bus quick and go to the very end of the chain after the side chaining and everything and do that same EQ technique. We turn all the nodes off and put it in mid-side mode. And we can just look by switching it to sides. Here's the mono stuff. Here's the side bands. So one thing that's really common is to cut the bass completely out of the sides for sure, and it looks like there wasn't any anyway, but if there was, you'd want to get rid of that. And now we can somewhere, between 700 hertz and like 3 or 4K, those are really the areas where our ears can hear the stereo poking out the most. Let's give it a little boost and see what that sounds like. Now that's given me a little more kind of presence in the stereo image, and that's a real subtle thing, but that's really nice. And if I wanted to get even more action out of that, I'd want to put some stereo effects right in front of it, or to the left of it, and before in the signal flow path. The most common there, one would be reverb or delay or possibly a chorus device. Live has a really nice chorus device we can toss before the EQ. And now in this case, we can use Ensemble is going to like layer it and give it multiple voices. Classic is just a regular old chorus. Here it is without it. And here it is with it. Nice. So that's spraying it out to the width a little bit. We've got width control here, which we can even overdrive. Nice. That's really pushing those supporting voices out to the side. Also a chance to get rid of more bass. If you want to hear more chorusing, you can turn the feedback up. I have a feeling we probably won't need it here. That's really bringing out, emphasizing that LFO modulation and the delay time, maybe a tiny bit. You'll even notice in Live 11 now they give us a little kind of saturation too. That's nice. Give us a chance to kind of hear that thing ducking. I'm going to slow that side chain down just a tiny bit. It's not clicking anymore. That's nice. Nice. So that's a good little stereo image technique. Let's A/B that. Here it is off. Here it is on. Nice. You can really hear it moving around. Let's do that similar thing to the return tracks over here. These are our resampled effects returns. Already really wide. Another trick I'll show you here is you can grab the utility device. You just kind of want to quickly push things out to the side. You can boost the width knob on the utility control. Now, be careful with this because this is going to essentially turn down everything in the mono mix. And if you go up real high on this and you happen to be listening to the finished track in a mono environment where it's like only one speaker, or maybe in a club or something where there's little speakers all over the room, anything that's boosted out to the sides like this basically won't be existing at all in the mix. So an old school thing to do with mixing, especially when there was a lot more mixes happening in mono, was to not do too much stereo boosting like that, because this is also called the Haas effect. Not do that, because if you do that, then you lose the sound in the mono mix altogether, which sucks. So let's try and spread it out a little bit. I think in this case I might try that chorus technique again. You can also try a delay again, or a flanger, or a reverb. Love that warmth technique. Maybe I'll have a little less modulation in there. Widen it up a little. Cut the low end. That's nice. And now let's do that mid-side EQ technique again. Curious to how much stereo image you have? Flip it over, take a look. Give it a little boost maybe. I like those highs, those are nice, shimmery, and we'll get rid of the lows. I like these guys too. Now this is your chance to actually do some cuts too if you wanted. Now for instance, let's say we had a lot of stereo image up the middle. That's going to interfere with our drums and stuff. So you could even really be justified. This is a little more advanced of a trick, but say you know your snare drum is cracking at 250 or 300, maybe just move some of that stuff out of the way. I know for sure that my bass track, that lead bass, has got a lot of 700 hertz energy. I'm going to cut that. I can even see that in the mono mix real loud, so I'm going to make some space there. This is now encouraging this thing to just be a little more surrounding. I could even try scaling it up for more or less. This is super wide now. And it makes a lot of sense now just to do a quick mono mix check. So we'll throw the utility on, we'll put it in mono and see if the sound just like goes away. We don't lose too much, so I think we're doing okay. So I'm going to leave that off, maybe leave it on there for later if we wanted it. And that's a really nice example of a mid-side EQ. Let's go to that harmony track too and maybe cut down some of the mid-band stuff around that 700 hertz range. Maybe make that a little more narrow. That's going to really be nice for making space for the crack of that snare drum and, you know, anything else that's filling up that space. Let's solo this track and listen to that. And I can see that peak up there. That's a hottie. Move that guy down. Let's hear this in the mix all together now. Maybe I'll move over here where the other instruments are kicking. Super wide pads over here now, so like these guys have just got a ton of width. Really immersive and surrounding, you know, even to the point where we could probably turn them up a little more. This is a chance to not forget that we have a gain control here and a little output volume. Let's take a look at this. See how much headroom I have there? Let's turn it back up, kind of making up for some of those dB we cut. Could still probably even do a little more, boosting it back up. Let's check the effects bus. Nice. Could even justify using this utility, giving a little more drive. Nice, so now we can listen to that all together. How about this track? So stereo imaging, it's a lot of fun. Usually starts with a little stereo effects like delay or reverb, and then, or maybe even a little chorus, and then some mid-side EQ to really smear it out. Either ducking the mono stuff for the supporting voices to make room for the drums and the lead, or vice versa, cutting down on some of that sideband energy for anything that's really supposed to be up the middle. A lot of devices will have width control built in, and they're kind of automating this, but it's nice to be able to really sculpt and control that stereo image. Real nice stuff. So with some more advanced spectral readout devices like Isotope Insight, for instance, You'll be able to even visualize the stereo width of a sound, and that can be really nice. But just by using mid-side EQ and looking at what information you have there, that's nice, and that's a nice technique. So one last little trick I'll show you, and this is a reverb technique. Whenever I'm dialing in a reverb, in particular on a brighter, tighter sound, like let's say a hi-hat, like listen to this drum beat. This hi-hat is pretty clicky. That thing is just really clicky and tight. A really common and cool technique to try is just to grab a reverb and push this thing all the way out wide. All you can hear is the reverb. And I could even make the decay time real short. I could brighten it up even. Maybe even turn the chorus off. Open it up, make it nice and tight and shiny. Bring this in for the click. Listen to this AB now. Ugh. Something about that tiny little bit of space in there. You can boost the space around it here. That's so much nicer than this. There even is a reverb on there that's real subtle. But now let's listen to the whole kit. Balance it out a little. Try with the chorus. Nice. So this is a cool way to kind of, first just listen to the reverb by itself and then back it off and get a little better feel for what you're adding, and always never hesitate, or I should say always never hesitate to A/B stuff there, just to double check your mix and make sure it's sounding good overall. Nice. So the last thing we haven't done yet here that we're going to do in upcoming videos is really balance the volume. I can still hear now that we've hyped things and boosted them and saturated them and spread them out, we're going to want to readdress all of our levels. And that's really the mix down. And that's right around the corner. So thanks for being here at Slam Academy and playing around with all these fun tools inside of Ableton. And remember, don't forget, if you feel like you're getting close but not perfectly nailing it yet, just keep practicing, and all the best.